There are soft, mournful hums beneath the wind, voices long dead, singing to a sky that no longer listens. The air is thick with ash, settling over ruins like gray snow. Somewhere in the distance, a bell tolls, its sound warped and hollow. You hear sound of cracking stone, like a temple collapsing under the weight of centuries. A wet, labored breath from something that should not breathe. There was a time when the gods walked this world, when their light threaded through the trees and their whispers stirred the oceans. But the veil has swallowed them too. Some dragged screaming into the abyss, others crumbling into dust, their bones tangled in the roots of a dying land. Those who survived have turned their backs, their silence as sharp as any blade. Now this land is a carcass, its spirit gnawed upon by the demon lords who have taken the thrones of the divine. Their reign is not one of fire and war, but of slow decay, a world unmade not by cataclysm, but by the quiet rot of lost hope. And you, wanderers, walk among the remains. You can feel it, can't you? The cold that is sunk into the stone, the way prayers catch in your throats like thorns. You may find shrines, but they are empty. You may speak the names of the old gods, but only the dark will answer. Welcome to Ashen Vale, a world forsaken, where only the desperate dare hope, and only the damned dare dream. The sky hangs heavy with clouds, a blanket of ash gray that matches the stone walls of Fort Dwin. Cold air bites at exposed skin, and the iron scent of blood lingers from recent skirmishes. Theo, as we hone in on you, on the outskirts of Fort Dwin, under the cover of trees, what have you caught in today's hunt?
Well, been tracking it for a little while, but you can only find so many unspoiled animals in these lands. But here and there, you find a deer, a boar, even something as small as a rabbit. Today I've been fortunate enough to capture a deer, one that eluded me for, well, quite a while. But now, in my grasps, it shall go towards ensuring the survival of our people.
As your mind drifts toward survival and the people you now surround yourself with in these dire times, you hear from Fort Dwin's innermost regions a bell signifying that there is a gathering. You know not of anything that was pre-planned, but it's likely time to head back inside the safety of the walls.
Indeed. With the carcass slung over my back, I'll make my way.
As you make your way toward the gate of Fort Dwin, it towers ahead of you, and you see on the walls of the fort there are many scouts, some of which you recognize, some who are brand new to the fray, likely just brought into this very small settlement. They recognize you promptly, and the gate is opened. Inside you can see that there is a crowd amassing. It's hard to tell what this gathering's purpose is from this distance, but there is a great deal of murmuring and whispering from among the crowd, and they are blocking whatever it is they are gathered around.
Theo is going to first ensure that the carcass is dropped off to the butcher, whoever's responsible for cleaning it. And curiosity will get the better of him. He will stick to the outskirts of the crowd, not really wanting to push further in, but still wondering what has caused this commotion.
Elsewhere, in the archives beneath Fort Dwin, the sound of the bell is dampened by stone. We cut to Ozwyn. As you are turning page after page under candlelight in a very small study For the first time in as long as you can remember, you are alone in this room. What is it you're reading about?
Having finally been able to get to an archive, which is not one that I've scoured over and over again, not one where I've pretty much read every single book. I'm deep in a tome about the ancient gods. One of my own personal research, though I had originally come to these archives for my home settlement. I had an ulterior motive of my own to look into some history of the older gods before they left and what kind of touch they had on the world and what kind of influence they had on people, as I always do, trying to find answers to me. So now alone and able to not worry about anybody looking over my shoulder, I'm deep in those pages.
Give me a history check.
Kidoki. History check. Click. Ooh, that is a 19.
As you continue to research deeper and deeper into these old gods, one that almost calls to you from the page, as if there's a spell woven into the ink itself. Orvian, the Radiant Hand.
How do you spell it?
That is Orvian. A deity of light, mercy, and purification, whose symbol was a golden sun with an open hand at its center, usually followed by healers, judges, and warriors of light across the lands. Orvian was once the most beloved of the gods, a beacon against corruption and decay. His followers built grand temples where disease was driven out and justice was upheld. When the demons came, Orvian's light flickered, and his final blessing was said to have burned away his most faithful to spare them from torment. His temples now stand as blackened husks, his name a whisper among those who remember mercy. There's a knock on the door, and you hear, Ozwyn, there appears to be some sort of gathering up above. I think it best we pause your studies for now. You recognize Kresh is slightly agitated by his tone. Something's bothering him.
Slightly annoyed by having stopping once I've gotten to this very important part of my studies. I get up because I'm curious what's going on, so... Kresh, why... You sound irritated. What... Do you know what it is? And is there any way we can skip it?
Well, I've heard whispers of executions, and, well, apparently there have been some less than ideal members of our community that were just identified recently as being in cahoots with demons. And so the High Priest would like to make an example out of them. I suppose we could skip it, but honestly, you are a visitor at Fort Dwin. I feel as though we would look more suspicious by not showing face.
That's very true. I'll have to go, no matter how uncomfortable it will be.
Did you at least find what you were looking for?
I'm gonna smile for a moment. I think I found something helpful. Yes, I think it's going to be helpful.
Well, do tell. We have a long walk ahead of us, many stairs, and I'm prone to falling asleep in silence.
Yes, I do know that. Though light sleeper you are. I just was finding some interesting tidbits about some of the older gods. It's a break, from what I'm supposed to be researching. Sort of look away from him,
Yes, I was specifically told to keep an eye on what you were studying because there was a great chance that you would veer off to other topics. But who am I to tell you what knowledge to seek?
I knew I could rely on you. So happy one of my brothers didn't come with me. Okay. Yeah, so I found the name of one of the older gods. Surprising we can lose it after only not really that much time.
Well, I found that many of those who would keep these tomes became targets shortly after the invasion because of their connection to these deities. And so with them, their books were burned. More of a case of collateral damage, really. And I think many of us were just afraid to utter these names, lest we also become connected and therefore targeted.
Well, some of us don't have that luxury. I say this as I pull some tinted black glasses out of a pocket as we start heading towards the exit of this hall that we're walking down and putting them over my eyes to cover my very vibrant yellow eyes.
I shouldn't tell you this, but I know a thing or two about some of the old gods, and, well, I'm not so sure they're gone. You see, he reaches in under his chest piece, grabs out a small chain. At the end of the chain, there are these tiny silver stars that are woven together. It looks like a constellation in the shape of a hand, almost like a counterpart to the golden sun, open hand symbol of Orvian. And though it is just the two of you in this hall, deep beneath Fort Dwin, you see Kresh look around as if to make sure that no one is listening. This is the symbol of Salir, the Dancer of Stars.
You stole her name? Their name?
Saelir.
Lir.
You're going to laugh, I think, but Salir was worshipped mostly by astronomers, travelers, and poets. You see he kind of puts a hand behind his head after that last word.
I'm going to lean over to him. We've known each other for a long time. Don't think I hadn't overheard something.
I assure you, nothing you've heard was meant to be taken seriously, of course. I keep the best works in my own personal journals, which are off limits, might I add.
Crap. I think they were lovely.
Naturally.
It's a nice reprieve from what we face every day. Thank you. And you little scamp, hiding this from me when you know my research.
Well, in truth, this is just a symbol. Her realm is dreams. So as far as I'm concerned, every time I sleep, I'm spreading her domain just slightly. Who knows, maybe one day you'll be able to feel that.
I'm gonna look away. I'm just sort of... My smile fades slightly. Well, I think I might be closer to it than others. Come on. As you said, we should make an appearance.
And we are going to cut to the training grounds, where there are a multitude of targets and straw dummies being struck by arrows and wooden swords as warriors of all make and fashion are practicing their craft. And we see Brick. Brick, what weapon are you training with currently?
I would say probably training with a short bow. He's not very good at it, but he's trying.
I want you to give me a perception check as you are aiming your next arrow.
That would be a 4.
A single splash of red blinds you. You loose the arrow, and you just barely regain your footing as something has struck you in the forehead.
Okay. Like, is it still in my forehead? Can I reach up to check?
Yes, you reach up and you feel something soft squishy, smells like a tomato.
Ugh.
You hear giggling as footfall leads away from the training grounds rapidly. Tiny feet.
Is Brick training with anyone or just kind of on his own?
You're on your own. There's a very small group here. And you remember seeing a few small children that were watching as you were training. It seems they thought this would be funny. But as you look around, you don't see them.
Okay, but I heard them running away, yes?
Correct.
Can I follow them?
Yes.
Cool, I'll do that then.
Give me an investigation check.
Sure. It is, once again, a 4.
You're not quite sure how, but you think these children have mastered invisibility. Because there's no way someone as skilled as you could have possibly lost them in the span of a minute. And yet, as you follow their trail, it goes cold, as if they climbed up one of these massive cobblestone walls and leapt into the woods outside. But as you exit the training grounds, you do see that there is a large crowd gathering around, and there is a platform that extends in the center of the crowd with 5 individuals, hands bound, and the high priest, Gathmir. Now, you know Gathmir is essentially the leader of Fort Dwin. This is some sort of public address, which would explain why the bells keep going off, signaling a gathering.
Okay, well, curiosity piqued, he would absolutely kind of make his way over there just to see what's going on.
As you're approaching the crowd, you hear whispers, talk of demons, talk of warlocks, pacts, dark magic. What is your opinion of these things? How would you respond, for example, if you were confronted with someone who made a dark pact with a demon for survival?
Yeah, am I being asked this by, like, a member of the town, or just
This is...
above-table question?
It is an above-table question.
Okay, in that case, I guess it depends on if they were actively fighting against me, or they were just existing in the same sphere as me. My answer would be very different. Because if they're fighting against me, we will destroy them. But if they're just kind of hanging out, not Brick Circus, not Brick's Monkeys.
You feel the tugging on your tunic, and you look over and you see Coco. Coco is a tiefling child that has run into you multiple times. Seems very interested in you as a person, because you are one of few tieflings at Fort Dwin, aside from Coco's father, Krig, which happens to be the blacksmith. Coco looks up at you with this ridiculous toothy grin and immediately starts grabbing at the arrows you have left in your quiver. I just need these for a personal project for 5 minutes. I'll give them back, I think, but I really need them.
How tall is Coco?
Coco's about 4 feet tall.
I just kind of lift them up a little bit higher out of their reach, like, I'm gonna need a little bit more than that. These are sharp.
Wait, no. I can't give you secrets. If I give you secrets, then, well, I mean, they're not secret anymore. Just know that it's a very important project, and it requires all of your arrows.
Okay. Can I roll an insight check on this?
Sure.
Try and determine why this child needs a bunch of arrows? Well, it's better than a 4. 11.
You see that Coco has rope. And you also see that Coco keeps looking at the walls repeatedly. And it's really obvious because this is a kid and they have no idea how to lie to someone as terrifying as you. No offense. But knowing Coco, you're almost certain that they're going to try to use the arrows to climb the walls, because there is no way that Krig would ever let them outside of the walls. It's out of the question. but they're so curious, and they've asked you time and time again to tell them stories of what goes on beyond Fort Dwin, and you're almost certain that they're going to try to escape.
That's a hard no on that one. Tell you what. We can go up on the walls after whatever big important thing this is, and you can look outside of Fort Dwin. How's that for a compromise?
Wait, really?
Don't tell your father. Do not tell him.
Oh, no, of course not. No, it'll be our secret.
There we go.
But you promise.
Yes, but you can't leave the walls. Do not jump off the walls. We are just going to look.
Coco gives you the most devious grin ever, and you know without a doubt he is going to jump the moment you guys get up there.
How tall are these walls, real quick?
The walls are about 15 feet high.
Brick's killed a lot of things. Does he think that a child will survive that jump?
Honestly, you think that out of all the children here, Coco would probably be the most likely to survive.
Fair
Built
enough.
from strong stuff.
We'll deal with that later. For now, I'm gonna agree to taking Coco up on the walls after this thing and figure out how to prevent them from dying.
Okay. Coco walks alongside you closer to the crowd, and you guys kind of blend in with everyone else. Now, while this is happening, Kerrigan, how distant do you think you would be from this gathering? Or are you even interested in listening in to this gathering?
Kerrigan would definitely be watching what is going on, but from a location that he's barely noticeable. Trying to keep himself as concealed as possible in the shadows.
From here, you see ravens circling over Fort Dwin, almost as if an omen has fallen right out of the sky. You're not sure if anyone else notices this, but for you it is incredibly unsettling. It is 5 ravens, perfectly in sync, in a circle.
Well, don't like the look of this. And then he's just going to have one hand slowly move to his sword and just rest.
Give me an Arcana check.
12.
Even from this distance, you can feel the enchantments placed on the binding of the individuals you're looking at. And you've been in situations like this before. You're looking at 5 individuals who are standing at gallows, and they are moments away from being hung. However, these chains binding them are incredibly powerful. And you're almost certain that this is the High Priest's doing. There aren't a lot of casters within Fort Dwin, especially not of that power. And that tells you that these are very dangerous individuals.
Okay. Well, this isn't very good, but not really my place to get involved. And then he's just going to quietly try to get a bit closer to the gallows as stealthily as possible.
All right. Please do the honors and give us our first stealth check.
20. Dirty 20.
As you step from shadow to shadow, can you describe what the shadows are obscuring from those around you? What does your character look like?
So he is dressed in all black. The only thing that is not covered is his face from his top of his nose up. He wears a mask that covers his nose and his mouth. The only thing visible are his eyes. One is a bright blue and the other is a bright, and then his stark white hair. That would be the only thing anyone notices if they were.
Okay. And after a very long walk accompanied by gentle teasing and a bit of religious banter, Ozwyn, you and Crush make your way into the central plaza. Can you describe yourself and Crush?
So, Ozwyn appears pretty human. Her skin, when you look at it, looks a little too red It looks very, like, if at a quick glance you'd think, oh, it's a dark tan. But when looking at it, it starts to look more red than tan. Her hair appears more on the black side, but once again, as you look closer, you can see a hue of purple running through it. And at the moment, her eyes are covered with, like, dark tinted black glasses to keep people from seeing her vibrant, almost like you think glowing yellow eyes. Something she makes sure that she covers up. She stands at about 5'7", and while her shirt and her pants are neutral tones of like a beige or like a tan shirt and a like darker gray pants, she wears a green like over vest, pretty long, with a blue belt with some gold detailing on it. Kresh is a dragonborn. He stands taller than Ozwyn, and he's I haven't actually thought about his color quite yet. I can tell you that he's of the metallic dragon variety instead of the chromatic. And he's straight-backed, very professional, but standing still close to her as guarding his charge. Yeah, that's who Ozwyn is.
Kresh is definitely taking the lead as you are walking toward the crowd, almost instinctively placing himself between you and potential threats. As you grow closer to what you now know to be gallows that have been erected while you were busy studying down below, you see 5 humans, which look rather ordinary, although dirty, unshoveled. And you see Gathmir. You've interacted with Gathmir here and there. You know Gathmir to be a very powerful spellcaster and a gentle leader. But the facial expression that you're witnessing now is one of turmoil and fear and anger. Kresh looks back toward you. I don't like the look of this.
No, I start to wring my hands. I sort of get a little tense. No, I don't like this either.
Those bindings. You can sense it, can't you?
Yes.
The magic.
Yes. I don't know, just something's... It's... warlocks, they're dangerous, yes, but this seems wrong. I'm gonna look at Gathmir. Can I tell something might be off about him? Can I roll an insight on it?
Yes.
Okay. Where is my insight button? There it is. Okay, that is a 17.
You look at Gathmir, his stark white hair, cold dark eyes, with clerical robes over a set of reinforced leathers, and you can see the symbol of an old god in his hand that is normally hanging from his belt. He's gripping it tightly, white-knuckling it. His hand is shaking. There's a slight tremor on the side of his face, right near the cheekbone. He is terrified in this moment.
No. I don't know if he's thinking straight. Look at him. He's shaking. I don't think I've ever seen that expression on his face. He's terrified. All the times I've ever spoken with him, few and far between they are, but he's always seemed to come across as so put together. Like, level-headed, but this just seems off.
Let us get a bit closer and see what we can attain.
Maybe I can talk with him before it happens. Maybe I can flag him down.
Just be careful with your choice of words. We're guests.
Huh. She pauses for a moment. Right. Remembering those times when she's attempted to talk to the people and has always been rather bad in social situations. do my best. If I can. I'm gonna walk behind Crash as we try to make it towards that side of the gallows.
You can't help but notice that there is a small trail of blood that leads to a set of boots. Theo, can you describe your character who has tracked in a bit of blood from your latest catch?
Theo Bard, but he goes by Theo, is an orc. Standing about a head taller than most folks, but he's also fairly lean. Doesn't have a lot of mass behind the size, but he's quite fast, and that's what matters. He's definitely dressed in clothing suited for the wilds, in that they don't look like they've been cleaned recently or at all. Caked in mud and grime and definitely blood. Even when he changes clothes, you can still smell the blood on him, for there's always something on him that still holds that. And he's kind of just sticking to the outskirts of the crowd, keeping an eye on things, but he also knows from experience that when things start getting riled up, that's a prime time for people letting their guard down. So while he's keeping an eye on things, he's also keeping his ears open to anything that might be out of place.
One thing that strikes you as unusual, though not entirely surprising, is that of the 5 individuals here who appear to be accused as warlocks, one of them is very young. This is a teenager. Barely. This is the only one that is currently bound and without fear, which is very unsettling.
The teenager is the only one bound?
It's the only one who is not showing fear while being bound.
Okay. So they're all bound, but all the other ones are showing, typical emotions at
Correct.
the end of their lives. Okay. How does Theo recognize this child?
You've seen this child many times over the last few weeks, which you start to put the pieces together why, as you're looking at the gallows and Gathmir, why this is such a big deal. Because this is someone who has been embedded in Fort Dwin society for quite some time.
And what about the others? Just average people, or any of them of particular import?
You don't know the names of any of them, but you recognize every single face up here. You've seen each of them repeatedly, but they've always kept themselves somewhat obscured under the radar, which feels now intentional.
So why then, out of all of them, is only the child not afraid? I think Theo is now turning his attention away from the crowd and is starting to scan the outskirts, look to the skies. He's got his hand on his weapon and is basically tensing himself because he feels like something is amiss.
You almost immediately clock that there are 5 ravens circling the skies above Fort Dwin. You don't know how long they've been there, but there is something unnatural about their movement. It is almost too perfect.
Of Fort Dwin, where would be the highest point that Theo could access?
There is a central tower that connects to several of the walls. So it's in the rear of the fort, centrally located. And that's where many of the Vale Guard are housed. It is a barracks of sort, but also a watchtower at the very top of it.
I think Theo is going to start making his way towards this tower with the intent of getting as high as he can to A, get a better view of these ravens, but also B, to scan the surroundings.
Okay. As you walk on, you see, those of you in the crowd see Gathmir approached the edge of the gallows, clearing his voice. My friends, each of these traitors sold their souls to the Crimson Hierophant. We have seen the brands burned into their skin, marking them as property of the Demon Lord. Their kind, these warlocks, are blights upon our world, and today we cleanse their stain with rope and stone. I do not know how long we have been compromised, but today I tell you all, we will fix this. We will rout out the evil that lives within our walls, lest we fall to the shadows outside. He looks back. Do any of you have any last words? And in response, the child looks up at him, spits, gold for blood, blood for gold. The Hierophant is waiting. And with that, we're going to take a 5-minute break.
Okay.
And we're back. Gathmir has taken a step back, and he has gestured with his hand, signaling for a veil guard off to the side of the gallows to pull a lever. Is there any intervention?
I feel like Ozwyn might try, but Kresh might stop her. Maybe? I'm not sure, actually. Okay. In that moment, when he's talking, can she look to the people, like to the 5 that are at the gallows, and sort of figure out if she could read deeper, sort of look to see, because does she notice that the child is the only one not afraid?
I think that would be pretty obvious.
Okay. Can she try to, or should I say, can I try to determine why possibly they could be so calm? I mean, just by looking, like, if there's some sort of indication of something that is not obvious to other people. That makes sense. I guess another insight, perhaps.
Yes. Give me an insight.
Okay. Ooh, that is a 22.
There is something you clock in the moment that the signal is given to put these 5 individuals to death. Many of these warlocks close their eyes in acceptance. This teen, this child, looks up for but a moment, and then their gaze returns. It is now level with the crowd, and they have almost a slight smirk.
Ozwyn's going to look up, see what drew their attention for that moment.
You see 5 ravens circling above Fort Dwin. And I would like you and Theo to give me investigation checks.
Dang it. 10.
5.
Almost an 18.
It is rare to see ravens in this area, so that immediately raises some alarms in your mind. I think it is rarer still for there to be 5 ravens in perfect synchronization. There is a connection between the ravens and these 5, but it is not clear to you. And the fact that you don't understand that relationship makes you extremely uncomfortable in this moment. But Oz, I will tell you, your observations of the 5th warlock make you almost certain that this is according to plan. At the very least, according to that warlock's plan, if not all of their plans.
Fresh. I have a bad feeling. You look at those ravens. You don't see ravens. And there's 5 of them. 5 ravens. 5 warlocks, and this is not going to end well. I don't think this is going to end well. We have to... I don't think they should be hung. I don't know if we're going to make it.
Calm yourself. Would you have me free them? Cut them down.
No. Just stop them. Stop them from pulling the lever.
Understood. You see, Kresh, he moves at a speed that startles you. Because you're in a very dense crowd, and he is within a foot. And then he is suddenly on the opposite side of the crowd, with his hand on the arm of the executioner. You don't know if he is using some sort of supernatural ability, or if that was a spell, but you've never seen him exhibit that amount of speed.
I sort of shake that off, something to ask him later as I push through the crowd to get to where he is now.
Gathmir looks down. What is the meaning of this? You would spare these creatures? What? For what reason?
Have I gotten to Kresh?
Yes.
Just a pause. Just look up. Look up at the ravens. There's something wrong about this, Gath, sir. Something wrong.
Ravens. Could it be your superstition is blinding you to the facts? I can show you the brands myself.
I believe there are brands, but maybe this is what they want. Do I know anything about what was his name? The Crimson Hierophant?
The Crimson Hierophant.
Hierophant. Do I know anything about the practices of those who follow him?
I think it is safe to say everyone knows of the Crimson Hierophant. It is a very demented section of lore, I would say. Those that follow the Crimson Hierophant belong to what is called the Church of Zold. They essentially sacrifice anything that breathes to their demon lord in exchange for power and wealth, which in this world really doesn't mean anything except for in the dominion of the Crimson Hierophant.
I'm gonna look at Gathmir in the eyes and just go, if they are warlocks of the Crimson Hierophant, isn't sacrificing them playing right into what he does?
I do not know. What would you suggest I do? They could have already spread their influence to others. We cannot just let them live. They know of our location. The only reason we live and breathe still is because we have been careful.
I understand that.
No, I do not think you understand. You are a guest here. You have only recently entered Fort Dwin. You do not understand what we've lost, what we've sacrificed to get this far. Believe me when I say, mercy is weakness.
And blindness to the practices of certain evil deities, especially one that literally kills for power, and they are connected to them? You don't think that killing them might set something off? This is not mercy. I'm trying reason and protection. Be another way to deal with them. Lock them up. Far down somewhere.
The archives does have cells. We've not had to use them in quite some time. Perhaps I am being too hasty.
Please. Thank you. I too know sacrifice. I think everybody who's lived through this does. But I also know that we need to think sometimes.
Release them and escort them to the archives. I'll see to them later. You see several Veilguard climb atop the gallows and begin to remove the rope and drag the 5 warlocks toward the archives.
I'm going to look towards the youngest one, see if their expression has changed. Do I have to roll again, or?
Severe displeasure.
Severe displeasure. Oh. I'm going to sort of collapse back, leaning up against Kresh, like, oh, that was nerve-wracking.
Yes. I believe you may have made yourself a bit of a target. He looks around, and as you follow his gaze, you do notice there are several people from the crowd who are looking at you with a bit of disdain.
Are my glasses still in like, my eyes still can't be seen?
Correct.
Okay, cool. Well, that wouldn't be anything new for me. Now would it? I glance towards him, knowingly. Just like home, right?
Well, what do you intend to do now?
Is there a chance that Gathmir won't call me in to talk to me? And I could just peacefully get back to researching?
I think we both know the answer to that question.
I know. Well, I can take solace in knowing that I think I spoiled their plans. That young one, setting as it was to see them possibly die, looked very disappointed when they didn't.
Well, let us head to the tower. I'm sure that Gathmir will want to speak to you soon.
Maybe we could sneak back to the archives first.
I don't think that.
Come on.
We must be very careful when we choose to be foolish. Now is not the time.
Understood. Lead the way.
Rick, can we go onto the walls now? I think they're done.
I'm trying to decide how much Brick has figured out from, okay, let's watch an execution, to a random person rolls up and says, wait, no execution. And then they just stop. And that seems really weird.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. It was almost as if you were watching the head of two separate households clashing. But you don't really know a whole lot of the people here because you're relatively new. I mean, of course you know Gathmir, but this young woman you don't really recognize. And you don't know why she has any power behind her words.
Well, life is full of mysteries. Yeah, I've figured out how I want to take this kid up on the wall, so if we can, find a bit of wall that is not currently being watched, and has somewhere that I could stand on the top part.
You can very easily...
Is there a way to get up there? Stairs?
Yep. Very easily. There are stairs that lead up to the top, and then the central tower also connects on either side to the walls as well.
Well, before we even get to the stairs, I would like to stay with me on this. Tie Coco to me as if they were a backpack.
Understood.
They are not getting off this wall today.
What?
You've seen a child, a baby carried in that little pouch. This is like this, except I just tied a rope around the child, in 8 different places.
What's the idea? You're kind of tying that knot a little bit tighter than I would like, I don't need a leash or anything. I can I can climb by myself.
I wouldn't want you to fall.
Oh no, I won't fall. I've done it before.
Brick ignores Coco and just finishes tying up the knot and then goes up the stairs.
Okay. You get to the top of the wall and you look out at a wide expanse of dying trees with bits of growth here and there. It's not a completely dead forest, but it has definitely been battered. And there are a few creatures here and there, nothing to lose sleep over. But while you're up here, you notice that the crows, they are exhibiting a slightly different behavior than what we've seen previously. Give me an Arcana check.
Right, and I have a question. Crows or those ravens that Brooke didn't notice?
Ravens.
Okay, that's what I thought. Arcana. 18.
There is magic being channeled by the ravens. And you think that the only reason this even got your attention is because of how close you are to them. Now, you're no expert on schools of magic, or really spells in general. So you don't know what effect is brewing, but you can feel the magic getting stronger.
Are they still doing that circle in the same place that they were originally?
Yes.
Okay.
It is directly over the center of Fort Dwin.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do in a series of movements. Step 1, get down. Actually, we might not have time for that. You said there's a connection between the wall and the tower in the middle?
Yes.
Do I have to go past the raven, like under the ravens to get there, or could I go, like, around?
You'd be going around.
I'm gonna head for the tower. The kid's coming with, I guess.
Where are we going?
Long story, we'll explain later.
Okay. I guess I don't have a choice.
You do not.
You can hear, very subtly, the sawing of a small knife against the rope.
Give me the knife.
You're no fun.
This is about to be very fun, trust me.
You walk up the steps to the top of the tower, and you find yourself in the company of an orc. What does Theo see as Brick walks up the steps?
So, what you would see is tiefling, fairly bulky tiefling, but quite young. Horns are still probably growing in a little bit. Of an odd, like pale greenish color. He does not appear to have, and I forget the word for it, it's not pupils, but like the whole circle of the eye, it's all one color. Which is a little odd. That also means you can't really tell where he's looking. And also there's a child tiefling strapped onto his back via a series of ropes, which probably looks very odd. Other than, I mean, that's going to be the weirdest thing. His clothes are pretty unremarkable. Travel gear kind of styled stuff.
What do you do doing up here?
Yeah, we should probably find Gathmir, because whatever those, and I point up, are doing, it's not good and it's getting stronger. That's it, that's the explanation.
Well, somebody needs to keep a watch on things. And Theo makes for... Are we at the top of the tower, or are we, like, in a staircase or a floor somewhere?
Very top.
Okay.
Are there stairs down?
Yes.
Theo wants to, first off, scan the surroundings, like past the walls. Does he see anything out of the ordinary? Well, what counts as ordinary, I suppose.
Give me a perception check. This will be with disadvantage.
Okay.
Out on the horizon, there is a mist rolling across the land. I don't think I have to tell you that that is probably not ordinary.
That will be a 12 with disadvantage.
Even at this distance, you can see small shadows moving at the forefront of the mist, just barely obscured.
Yeah. I think we're about to have company soon. And that's all the explanation Theo gives as he starts making his way down to find Gathmir.
Rick is coming along.
Kerrigan, there are whispers in the back of your mind. You hear voices of different pitches. They're coming. They're coming. Run, run, run.
So, first thing, did Kerrigan notice that Ozwyn noticed something off when Kerrigan was scanning the crowd?
Something off about the warlocks specifically?
Yes, like if Kerrigan was keeping an eye on the situation, would he have noticed that someone else noticed the raven and something off about the warlock?
I think you were in a prime position to connect these dots. And I also think you probably would have noticed somebody scaling the walls and then climbing up to the top of the tower, especially since there was 2 people up there. And the rest of the Veil Guard is kind of scattered along the grounds, so it's a little out of place for people to be on the walls right now.
So, in that case, knowing that other people know that something is seriously wrong, Kerrigan would likely go after Ozwyn to try to warn them, but still trying not to be noticed.
Okay. So you are heading toward the central tower. Theo and Brick and Coco are walking from the top of the tower down, and Ozwyn and Kresh are currently entering the base of the tower. Where exactly is Theo headed right now?
Theo is heading towards where he knows Gathmir typically. In not only does Theo range out beyond the walls, he also takes watches and stuff, so he would be familiar with who to report to and all that. And I'm assuming Gathmir is sort of like somewhat responsible for that, or is at very least
Correct.
the person to inform. So he is heading for what would qualify as their office, or I doubt it's a war room, but basically where he knows he can find Gathmir, especially now that the execution is over.
Yes, so on the second floor of this tower, Gathmir has quarters.
Okay.
So you're heading from the top down, just as Kresh and Ozwyn get to Gathmir's office. Is Brick following?
Oh, 100%, yeah. Both because he wants to know what's happening and relay information, and also because he's not that smart, but birds doing bad magic is not a great place to stand if you have a small child attached to you. So he wants to be further away from that.
Then all of you arrive at the same point, with a rogue trailing down the stairs.
Aha. Look, Kresh, it looks like he probably had other people who wanted to talk to him. Maybe we can return to the archives?
State your business.
There's something moving beyond the walls.
And also there are birds causing magic in the sky.
Would very much like for either of you to elaborate. Whoever would like to go first, please do so.
Can I ask who's talking?
It is the Dragonborn guard at Ozwyn's side.
Okay.
Kresh. You see that Gathmir's office door is closed right now.
Clearly something has been up ever since people gathered. And those ravens in the sky, don't know what that's about. This little one says magic, and when he says little one, he's referring to Brick.
Tall is Theo?
Theo is over 6 feet tall.
Fair enough, he could be taller.
It
We're
might
allowed
also
to
be
be
an
taller.
indication. It's also an indication of clear youth. Theo is well past his 30s. Let me just say that. But yeah, this little one says magic. I don't know about that, but there's something happening. So, and there are mists starting to encroach. We need to be on high alert.
That sounds like something you should tell Gathmir. Look, it looks like they're on top of it. We can go elsewhere, Kresh, right? Right?
Well, Ozwyn, if something's coming, I don't think your talents would be best used in the archives. You know this better than anyone.
Oh, is that? Yes. I know.
I would agree with your friend.
Where did you come from?
I've been here the whole time.
That's terrifying.
Yes. Not many can sneak up on me.
Well, you'll be glad of that talent soon enough.
Talent. Right, talent. I sort of look over at Kresh. That's... yes, research talent is quite good, but in a situation? She's trying to give a hint of don't talk about it.
Well, let us see what Gathmir can make of all of this. You see Kresh walks up to the door, knocks. There's a muffled shifting of objects on the other side of the door. Enter. And you see, as Kresh opens the door, there's a very small candle atop the desk of Gathmir. He's seated with stacks of books on either side of him. And he appears to be frantically flipping through tomes in search of something. Yes, what is it?
Theo steps in front of whoever might be at the front, and and says quite bluntly, Gathmir, there's something stirring beyond the walls.
Something of what nature? Use your words, Theo.
Something of the unknown nature. There are mists quickly encroaching on us. Shadows.
Oh, I see. Has anyone confirmed whether or not there is spellcraft involved?
I don't know about the mist, but the strange birds in the sky flying in a circle are doing something magic, and it's getting stronger.
As they're talking, can I sort of look to see if I can figure out what tomes he's flipping through?
Sure. Give me an investigation check.
Investigation. Got it. Okay, that is a 16.
There is a great deal of shenanigans, I would say, on his desk. All of different deities. It seems to you like he's doing some sort of research similar to your own, with his own personal collection of books, in search of something. It's unclear if he's searching for techniques or rituals or spells or items, but he's searching for something in connection to the old gods. It's just a bit too obscure from this angle for you to figure out what specifically he's looking for. All right, we should put the fort on alert, and I suppose I will investigate these. You said ravens.
Mm-hmm.
I will investigate the ravens. This could be linked to the warlocks that should not be breathing, might I add. So someone should speak to them as well.
I have ways of making people talk when I need to.
Splendid. You may take some veil guard with you. I'm sorry, is that a child on your back?
Oh, right. I would like to untie said child and just look at him and be like, go home, find your father, do not leave him. All right, good, go.
Ugh, you suck.
Yeah.
I wanted to hear more about the super fancy magic ravens.
Mm-hmm. I toss him his small knife.
Loser. He just runs off. Well, in any case, we should ready Fort Dwin for whatever is to come. I get the feeling we won't be sleeping much tonight. If any of you have anything you need to prepare for whatever is to come, I would say do it now. You see, he stands. There's something I must get from the archives.
I'll come with you.
I'll head for the walls.
I want to swap out or grab my great axe in addition to said short bow I'm carrying around.
Okay.
And as Brick pulls out their other weapon, Kerrigan's gonna come behind them. Do you care to join me in the dungeon? I may further assist you.
Sure, yeah. Now that I have released the backpack child, yeah, why not?
You may see some unsettling things, so...
Oh no, what a nightmare.
And then I'll turn to one of the Veil Guard. Please, take me prisoner.
You get a nod in response, and they lead you off toward the dungeons, which are in close proximity to the archives. So you essentially end up walking with Ozwyn and Kresh, as well as Gathmir. Atop the walls, Theo, what is your intent?
Once I've reached the walls, I'm going to pull my longbow off my back, knock an arrow, and basically stand at the ready scanning for any signs of something foul. Probably along the way I might have grabbed another one of the guards or two to also let them know that things are seemingly on alert.
Yes, the fort doesn't have much, but the notice of, hey, something is going on, sets things into motion almost immediately. You have about a dozen other archers on the walls. Are you at the central tower, or do you want to be on one of the side walls?
I actually think Theo would head for the central tower. The higher up, the better.
From here, you can see that in the time you've been away, the mist has spread much more rapidly than you would have liked. But because of it being closer in proximity, it is a little bit easier to identify what you can kind of see moving in the obscurity of the mist. So give me a perception check with advantage.
Right. 22.
You're looking at a few dozen, at least, mounted humanoids riding toward Fort Dwin under the cover of the mist. And there is something moving with them whose form you cannot nail down. It's not something you recognize, which is never a good sign.
In terms of the fort going on alert, is there a lot of noise being made, or is it a very silent thing? Is that sort of the idea behind it?
It is dead quiet.
Okay. So, I think what Theo is going to do, since he's got a pretty good eye on all the walls, if possible, I would like to write a very brief scroll message to be attached to an arrow. 4 copies so that I can send one to each wall, and the message basically says, mounted combatants approaching, plus something unknown. And I basically want to fire it towards the other walls with the intention of not hitting a guard, but like a silent way of spreading what I've seen without leaving my post.
All right. From distance, you can see that your message is received. More guards begin to funnel up the stairs to the walls. This is the most defended that Fort Dwin has been in the entire time you've been here.
After that, Theo is just going to settle into the tower, his bow knocked, and wait for the inevitable.
As Ozwyn is following Gathmir as they head towards the archives, she's gonna say, I can see your disappointment, especially in what you said, but I still truly believe that was the best choice.
Child, I am not all-seeing, nor am I all-knowing. I can admit to being blinded by my bias at times, but I do not have a whole stock of patience nor mercy. If you had seen what beings of this caliber are capable of, perhaps you would not be as lenient.
Again, it's not leniency, it's understanding. I saw that one warlock that you spoke to who spit on you. They were looking like they wanted to be hung. And when they weren't, they were sorely disappointed.
Do you think that is connected somehow to these ravens and whatever is on the outskirts?
I don't know anything about what's on the outskirts, but 5 ravens, 5 warlocks, we don't see ravens. And there's 5 of them? Something just didn't seem right.
Can you point this warlock out to me?
Oh. Well, it's not going to be hard. They're going to be the youngest one in there. Yes. They're... Look for the most defiant and youngest. It's probably going to be them.
While I do agree with Gath that leniency should tolerate, having witnessed what these beings are capable, I do believe that caution in this situation, lest we all wish to meet an early death today, and I do not believe that anyone is to die.
Well, those who follow the Crimson One wish to die.
Well, hopefully I can get them to talk. I don't suspect it will be very hard, but it may not be pretty.
You do know you're going to be talking with those who follow, as I said, the Crimson Hierophant. If you're thinking torture, I don't know if it's going to work out the way you think.
You never know. There are always ways to make people talk.
Okay.
Unless you have a better idea.
No, I've not dealt with that stuff. I'm not that kind of hands-on. So no, I don't have anything. You give it a good try.
And if not, then maybe they do meet their deaths today, one way or the other.
You approach a branch. One path leads to the archives, the other to the cells. Gathmir turns toward the archives and begins to walk rather hurriedly.
I follow him.
You can sense unease as he frantically opens the door to the archives and begins to throw books off the shelves in search of something hidden behind them. There must be something here. Anything, something. Look for a button, a switch, a lever, anything. There should be an armory of sorts with not of the standard variety, but holy relics. We're looking for something to defend Fort Dwin from whatever is coming. I thought we had more time. I don't know what I thought. I thought I could bolster our defenses myself, but it seems whatever protection I've been providing has just been delaying the inevitable. So we must find something greater than myself, something greater than all of us, in hopes that it'll salvage the situation.
Question, would this alarm Ozwyn hearing this?
What part specifically?
Just about holy relics. Or is that
I mean,
something?
you wouldn't necessarily know that there was a hidden chamber with holy relics here. The fact that there exist holy relics is not something you were aware of.
Okay. A button. Okay, I'm gonna look around and see if I can help.
As time goes on, Gathmir grows more and more frustrated. There has to be something. Gods, if you can still hear me, please help us.
Can I investigate the shelves, see if I can find the button?
Yes.
Okey-dokey. Dang it. 13.
Give me a wisdom saving throw.
Okie dokie. Wisdom saving throw. A 15.
You're looking at a wall in between two bookshelves, and the most peculiar thing happens. The dust and cobwebs seem to fade, and instead of cobblestone here, you see a metal door with runes inscribed around a keyhole. It's as if you're seeing two things at the same time in this moment. You're not sure which of them is physically present in front of you. Your head begins to ache, something serious, as you take a step back and Kresh approaches you. What was that? Where did you go?
I think I found where the entrance is, but I can't go any further. Can't get closer. I'm gonna shake my head at him, my fear in my eyes. Not if... I'm gonna trail off. Gathmir, try to check this wall.
Gathmir claps his hands together, and as he separates them, a staff of crystal expands, and taking the staff in both hands, he slams it into the ground and shatters the wall in front of him. And with that, we're going to take a 5-minute break. And we're back. We are going to resume with Kerrigan, but first, your audio has been cutting off a bit. Your threshold is cutting off like the ends of some of your words.
Let's hope that fixed it.
All right. You are in the dungeons. I believe Brick was accompanying you.
Yes.
Yes, he is.
So you see there are 2 Veilguard outside of the cell that holds all 5 warlocks. As you approach, they eye both of you slightly confused. One of them steps forward. Can we help you?
Possibly. And then Kerrigan will turn to one of the Veil Guard. Is there a separate room that we can use?
Well, I'm assuming you're the ones who were sent for intelligence gathering. There is a rather small break room of sorts you could utilize. There's a table and some chairs.
Good enough. Bring the youngest.
They nod. They draw their blades and unlock the door to the cell.
In response, I would like to also draw my blade, just in case.
You see the warlocks are on edge, but they don't jump to attack the Veil Guard. Now, the Veil Guard is able to grab hold of the youngest warlock and begin to drag them out toward this little side room that will now be used for interrogation. And they promptly lock the cell. Now, the two of you are seated across from this teen bearing the brand of the Crimson Hierophant. And they're eyeing the two of you very lacklusterly. They're not intrigued at all. They're not intimidated at all. What would you like to say?
So Kerrigan is going to pull a dagger from his sleeve and just kind of rest the tip on the table, twirling the dagger. Tell me about that brand.
You see they pull down their collar slightly, and you can see the brand. It's a circle with two diagonal slashes through it. And it looks almost infected, but they're almost always that same sickly color. The flesh is almost rejecting the brand itself. It's for those who are worthy. I wouldn't expect you to understand. You seem like the type to cling to the shadows.
Only when necessary. But worthy of what, exactly?
Worthy of the Hierophant's love and admiration, the power that we gain from worship.
You think they care about you, your life, your existence. You're nothing more than not even a meal to them.
What is faith to you?
I believe in myself, but I have never put much stock in blind faith. And clearly you had something planned for today. You are not very good at concealing yourself on the gallows.
They put their hands up. You have caught me, naturally. You, who are so wise and perceptive, you saw right through my disguise, my plans. Is that what you were expecting to hear?
No. You don't seem like someone who easily would give up secrets. Someone who very clearly expected to die today. It must sadden you to still be alive.
The day is still young.
What if someone were to offer you that death you so seek? Would that loosen your tongue at all?
Perhaps. But that would be foolish. If someone knew as much as they claim, then they would know that my death is only an accelerant.
Well, your death, maybe. But you very clearly intended for all 5 of you to die. So that leads me to think that just one death may not be enough. Or we could certainly keep you locked down here, denying you what you seek.
There are 200 souls living within these walls. 200 sacrifices to the King in Red. Our aim was simple. We infiltrate, we create tension, mistrust rather. And upon discovery, we die at the hands of those who called us friends, and in some cases, family. And our sacrifice was meant to open a door so that our brethren could locate this place and take all 200 of those souls right back to the Golden Throne. But we did have contingencies. And I think you are very likely to find out what those were shortly. I think one mistake you and others have made is stopping at 5.
So there are more of you.
There are countless. You should join us, friend. There is no shame in taking the easier path. Only the living get to regret it.
And Kerrigan is going to pull down his face mask to show scars along the lower half of his face. I have lived with regret. None of that involves joining this lie that you have been told. And I will not allow anyone to experience the things that I have at the hands of your so-called God.
They look up at Brick. And what of you? Are you as foolish? Or do you want to continue living?
I mean, it is my default state so far. Not entirely sure that you understand that joining your god has made you more likely to die, not less. But, miscommunications happen. I am very curious what your contingency plans are, though.
Common mistake is to assume that the demon lords work alone, isolated, separated from one another. You would be surprised how often their goals align. And as he says that, the temperature in this room drops significantly. Everyone in the party feels cold cling to them. Outside, the mist has touched the walls. Whatever is approaching is still at a distance, but you are running out of time. And I would like Theo to give me a history check.
All right. 8.
Something is familiar about these mists, but the adrenaline running through you as you can see what is essentially a small army approaching is making it incredibly difficult for you to focus. One of the Veil Guard approaches you, puts a hand on your shoulder. Theo, you don't think this is the wilds spreading, do you?
Whatever it is, it's not going to get in here that easily.
What do we do? Some of the others have said they've spotted something slithering through the mist with many arms and a dull blue glow. Never seen anything like it. I think it might be a demon.
To that end, Theo has a bit of an idea of the signs to look for when demons are encroaching. Does he sense any of those right now?
You see an aura in the mist, but I would like you to give me an investigation check just to see how much detail you're able to make out.
All right. Non-natural 1.
As you're looking out, there is a sixth sense that you gain access to in this moment. You feel every inch of your body shiver as you know you are in grave danger. You immediately switch your attention from the demon you now very clearly see in the distance to your most immediate surroundings, where you hear steps but don't see individuals. You know there is something near you that is invisible, and you are in danger.
Theo immediately aims his bow where he hears these steps and fires.
Okay. Give me an attack roll. Disadvantage.
Okay. 12.
It zooms through the air. It does not find purchase. The footsteps stop. You know the general direction, but you have not managed to harm whatever this is. And you can see around the walls from this viewpoint, something similar is happening elsewhere. There are a lot of arrows flying and not hitting anything. You've already been infiltrated.
Is the other Veil Guard still with him?
Yes, you guys are back to back.
Okay.
His blade is drawn.
Theo just pulls out his... Actually, I think his longbow is still going to be his best bet here. So he just knocks another arrow and says to the Veil Guard, "Steel yourself. It's already too late."
Well, if we die, brother, it's been nice.
Whatever it's been, I'll fight to keep it like that. And Theo will try to shoot again.
All right, again. Give me an attack roll. Disadvantage.
Okay. 13. Ugh.
There is laughter in reply to your feeble attempt at harming this creature. But in the laughter, there is almost a reverb of a slightly different pitch. This voice is corrupted. It is definitely not a human, whatever it may be. But you don't sense the presence of a demon, aside from the one you see now approaching the walls rapidly. And it does look like it is going straight for the central tower. It is a few hundred yards away.
Okay.
Give me a dexterity save.
Okay then. The man, low rolls. That's a 9.
There is a blade that materializes right before your eyes, slashing across your chest. You're going to take 10 points of fire damage as a fully armored hobgoblin appears before you, exiting invisibility. And you see across all of the walls, similar small skirmishes are breaking out. They're attacking the entirety of your Overwatch all at the same time. It does not look like the other Veil Guard are faring well. And you see the other Veil Guard member you're back to back with similarly has a hobgoblin in front of him. And he seems gravely wounded near his gut.
Theo spits a little blood out and chuckles as he just says, "There you are. And if there's enough time, would like to cast Hunter's Mark on this hobgoblin."
Sure. Now, as this is beginning, we're going to cut down to the archives. The temperature's just dropped significantly. Kresh is very uncomfortable. Weapon drawn. You are still struck with a bit of a headache, Oz. And Gathmir has begun walking down what looks to be a staircase that was hidden behind the cobblestone in the archives.
Gosh. Has it gotten
Something's
colder?
wrong. Yes, something is very wrong. We need to hurry up.
Should we follow him?
I don't think we have much choice. Come on.
Okay. I go after Gathmir hesitantly, but I still follow. Ow.
Gathmir's staff has a small mote of light atop it as he walks down a winding staircase. On the walls, you can see there are murals in gold depicting various scenes from what seems to be history itself, although it's not clear whether these are accurate or fables. You can tell that this is depictions of various gods, some of which you don't have names for.
Does it look like anybody's been down here recently, or is it like definitely looks like nobody's been down here in a while?
No, the smell of stale air is the first thing you notice. It has not been disturbed in quite some time.
Where are we going?
We are looking for a weapon, something that should be able to help us, although I'm not 100% sure what it is. There are just fragments of records of something being transported here and safeguarded long ago, but those records are damaged. I hope it's still here.
I'm guessing it's been quite a secret.
Well, I only accidentally found it, and I'm sure you would have too if you had been reviewing the right texts, but the blueprints of the fort did not include a chamber such as this. It was only through journal entries that I was able to find evidence of it. Do you have any knowledge of the old gods?
I do. I've done my research. It's a fascinating subject. I have memories from when I was a child of people speaking of them.
Are you familiar with Orvian?
Yes, actually. Just today I came across his name.
Well, it seems Orvian left behind something, though I'm not sure who he left it for. I suppose it doesn't matter, but there aren't many followers of the Radiant Hand left living.
I remember reading that as a mercy, Orvian burned them away.
Yes, but luckily, the texts that were devoted to Orvian and the records, many of them were still maintained by scholars, most of which had no devotion to anything but history itself. And through their transcription of these texts, Orvian had a resurgence of believers. In times like this, it is important to cling to what little positivity one can find.
Is that who you follow?
He stops. No.
No. Did I say something wrong?
I prayed once and heard nothing, so I stopped praying, and the silence remained the same. It pains me to have to rely on what I would consider to be a fool's errand. But honestly, if this power does not exist, we are doomed anyway. So I'm forcing myself to be optimistic in hopes that we won't all die today. Is there a god you believe in?
I might be searching for one at the moment. Hence why I do all my research.
Well, let us hope that you can continue your research when this is finished.
If anything, I would desperately defend this archives. It's magnificent.
I wish you had seen the Holy City. This is nothing compared to the libraries there.
Again, stories from when I was a child. But alas, I wasn't ever able to go.
A small group makes its way to the bottom of the steps, where a golden gilded door stands before you. There are sigils covering its surface, many, many logs. And you see Gathmir place a hand on its surface. What was the question you had?
Well, my question was, as we are going further down the stairways and getting closer, how am I feeling? And how am I looking?
You are slightly pale. You feel almost... Deja vu is the wrong term. This is more deja rêve. You've seen this in a dream before. Perhaps a daydream. But you are walking, you are talking, you are thinking as you have before. Almost as if this has been laid out for you, like a blueprint. It feels unnatural, as if you are not in control of your own actions.
Close to me, Kresh. Something's about to happen.
You must find your strength. We will get through this. Gathmir looks back, his hands still firmly planted on the surface of the door. If you wouldn't mind, I could use some aid of a magical nature. Come, Ozwyn.
Hesitantly, sort of reluctantly, I go close. Like, I have to. This is just, again, feels like I'm following a script. And this is what I was doing next.
Give me an Arcana check.
Oh, a check. Would be a 12.
You can feel at this proximity that you are definitely not carrying the most weight in the unlocking of this sealed door. You are a small hammer. Gathmir, in this moment, a meteor. The door quickly loses its shimmer, and you hear an unlocking mechanism in its interior. The center of it parts, naturally spreading inward, revealing a chamber that is round and has a small altar in its center. There's a single beam of light, and as you look up at the ceiling, it doesn't appear to be from a natural source. There is a small crystal of an amber color embedded into the ceiling, shining down upon what looks to be a blade, a long sword.
Is that it?
It will have to be. I fear we've run out of time. And as he says that, you can hear in the distance muffled explosions.
You know how to use a sword? Because I know I don't.
I'm a bit rusty. Perhaps Kresh could wield it.
Kresh. Looks like we're in need of something miraculous.
I'll do what I can. Kresh approaches the altar. His hand wraps around the hilt of the blade, and the dust that was covering the blade is immediately displaced. It has a dim glow as he raises it, and it seems to be drinking in the light from the crystal above until there is no more, and the only thing lighting up this dark chamber is the sword itself.
In my research, have I ever read of a sword like this one?
No.
Okay. Well, it's a nice display, but from the sound of it, it looks like it might be... We might have to use it. Like, now.
Right. Let us get up top and see where we might be of use.
Is the sensation still familiar to me, or has it stopped?
You feel grounded in this moment, as if whatever experience you were going through has subsided.
Okay. I breathe out and follow behind them.
Brick and Kerrigan. The temperature dropped. You started to hear commotion above you. Explosions. Something is very wrong. The prisoner in front of you, this warlock, seems content. Arms crossed, leaning back. Not a care in the world.
Well, that's alarming. So we should probably look into that. But before we go, I just look at the warlock and I'm just like, I mean, odds are good we're gonna be dead, so if you want to brag, this is your moment. Hit me with it.
I fear that my words would be wasted on you. But it's never too late. You can cross over. Join us. You don't have to die with the rest of them. You're very young. There's much more left for you to do in this world.
Okay, odd brag, but alright. And Brick's gonna kind of look at Kerrigan and just be like, you got putting him away while I go check on what's going on, or you want me to do it, or...
I don't think we're going to learn much more here, and it sounds like whatever they've planned has already started. I'm just trying to decide if we leave him alive or not.
Oh, I'm voting alive.
Then we should go.
Alright, so we toss the warlock back at the Veil Guard that are guarding the others, and we head out of the dungeons.
And as we walk out, we'll mention to the guards, or Kerrigan will mention, something has happened. Do not let these warlocks out of your sight. But it would be advisable to keep them alive at all costs.
Understood. Both of you give me perception checks.
7.
13.
Neither of you hear the footsteps outside the gate that do not belong to the Veil Guard, and you continue on your way upstairs.
Well, I don't like that, but okay.
I mean, we didn't hear it, so...
Yep.
As you exit the dungeons and walk up the stairs leading to the ground level, you are met with chaos. You see, fighting atop the walls, there are hobgoblins surrounding the Veil Guard archers that were meant to be protecting the walls, and atop the tower, it is very hard to see, you can just hear the clashing of steel on steel and the occasional flash of magic that is mixed in with the obscurity of the mist that is closing in on all sides. As you guys surface, I'm going to say that Ozwyn and Kresh, along with Gathmir, also make their way up at the same time. And I need all of you to roll for initiative. Hold your numbers. I will ask for them here in a second.
Okay. See what I get with my -1 initiative. Ooh.
Tell me it's a 0. I want to hear you say it.
It's not a 0. It's not a 0.
Fair.
Close, but it's not a 0.
I know, I can see it.
Sounds like this, that I'm glad I swapped my hunter subclass after before the session.
All right. 21 to 25.
22 for Kerrigan.
16 to 20.
19 for Theo.
11 to 15.
15 for Brick.
And that leaves us with Oz.
I have a 3.
Oof.
There it is. There it is.
Aha! I have
always
to
do
offset my crazy constitution.
All right. Well, we are going to go ahead and take our 5-minute break early, and then we'll come back with a skill challenge to determine how bad things get for you all.
Yay!
5. Okay. We are back. So, you are all in various locations around Fort Dwin. The goal is to reach 6 successes before 3 failures. If you succeed, the walls will hold. You'll be able to mobilize reinforcements and deal with this demon as a singular force. If you guys fail, the walls will fall, the gates will be breached, and this army outside will surge in, and you will be trapped in what is essentially a losing battle. All right.
Got it.
Okay.
Starting with Kerrigan. Give me an acrobatics check as you maneuver across crumbling battlements, rescuing archers, and you're avoiding falling rubble and leaping over gaps in the walls.
That's an 11.
That would be your first failure. You hear from the mist below, along the wall, a line of infernal shouted above the sound of clashing metal, and you can see the troops down there rallying, increasing their coordination. More begin to climb the walls at once. You notice this just as you barely cross a gap in the walls. That is one of 3 failures. And that's going to bring us to Theo. Theo, give me an attack roll.
Man, that's a 13.
You know that a single strike could turn the tide. You could slay one of these hobgoblin assassins, but as you go to swing, a section of the wall collapses near you, almost sending you tumbling into the mist below. It sends the Veil Guard that you were fighting alongside into the mist as enemies swarm through this breach. That is 2 of 3 failures.
Goodness gracious.
Jesus,
Brick.
the rolls have been so low.
Yes. Brick, you're surrounded by terrified Veil Guard. I need you to give them some inspiration. There is almost an inner fire burning in your chest in this moment. Give me an intimidation check.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Oh gosh.
Natural 20.
Oh,
For
thank
23.
God.
Oh!
You bark above all of the chaos. It cuts through everything. All of the Veil Guard around you immediately lock in as if they've been in battles like this hundreds of times before. You see them immediately start to reinforce the walls, climbing atop the walls to help deal with the various assassins. and you see they are picking up those who have fallen, patching them up as quickly as possible so as to get them back in the fight. That is one success. And whoever's going next, which would be Oz, you'll have advantage from that nat 20. Okay. Give me an investigation check.
With advantage. Okay, investigation check.
Got this,
Okay.
Ozwyn.
With advantage. Okay, that is a 16.
That is a success. All right. So you're able to spot a weak point in the fort structure, and you shout out to Veilguard down below to reinforce that area and to kind of focus on that side of the wall in order to bottleneck any enemy advances on that side. You guys are at 2 fails, 2 successes. You need 4 more successes in order to complete this.
The odds are
Go
not
back.
looking great, guys.
Boy.
We're back at the top with Kerrigan. All right. Kerrigan, give me a survival check.
Okay. That's
Oh.
a 6. That's a failure. Gotta be.
Well, with that 3rd and final success, there is a massive demon that slams through a wall at the rear of Fort Dwin. And around this gaping hole in the walls, hobgoblins pour in, trailing behind them the mist itself, and they are now inside of the fort. What are each of you doing in this moment as the walls are being breached? What's going through your minds?
As the walls are breached, Ozwyn is going to look for a place that, like the high ground. There's nothing like right now she can do about the fact that they're breached, but maybe she can get high enough that there's a little bit of some defense away from more of the front-lined area. Just trying to live, basically.
You see that the central tower is the highest point, but you know that all of the walls, including the tower, are being scaled.
Maybe it's safer to stay near Kresh.
Theo is. He hears the slam. He hears the crumbling of stones. He's heard these sounds many times before. He knows that all of a sudden this is about to turn into a slaughter. And he starts fighting with a bit more of a fervor, but not for the sake of protecting the people. This is his deep-seated instinct to survive taking over.
You eye this creature. It stands tall, towering over everything. Serpent-bodied, 6-clawed. It has swords in 4 of its claws, and you can see it in the distance draining the soul out of the body of a Veilguard. There is no survival anywhere near that, and you cannot kill it.
Can't kill it, but at least can slow it down. And Theo would like to expend a spell slot to cast Entangle in the area around it.
And what does this look like?
So the way Theo channels his magic, it's all through his weapons. So he basically knocks what looks like a twig of mistletoe, and he lets loose the bow, but he doesn't let the twig sail. Instead, a shaft of green energy just sails out to the ground that he's targeting. And all of a sudden, a mass of plant life sprouts up. We're talking roots. We're talking thick weeds, and it turns that whole area into just a mess of what passes for natural life.
And what is your DC?
So the DC is 13 to avoid being entangled, but it does also turn the entire ground that affects it into difficult terrain.
That is a natural 1.
It is a strength save, if that makes a difference.
It does not.
Okay.
So that is a fail. You see the slaughter demon's arms are pulled down by these taut tendrils, and it is restrained in this moment. But this does bring its attention toward you.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a good thing Theo knows how to work from a distance, as he starts making his way as far from it as he can.
Rick, what are you doing in response to this creature?
I don't think Brick's ever seen anything like that before. And you said it broke through the wall, and they're basically just pouring in from there?
Correct.
Does Brick know if there's... No, because they'd probably be at the other, gates already, right? Trying to get in?
You are effectively surrounded.
Okay, yeah, I was just maybe we could get some of the people out, but no, I don't think, I think that ship may have sailed, so... what does Brick do? I mean, how far away is it? Ballpark?
About 60 feet.
About 60 feet. Okay, that's a ways. I guess he's gonna head towards it? He'll only get about halfway there, but, he'll get halfway there. Are there any enemies in between it and me, or can I just walk over there?
You have to fight your way through a very small crowd of hobgoblins with thrown together pieces of armor. You see some of them have shields with hands of fallen enemies nailed into them.
No.
These are savages. And you know them to not be from the surrounding area. This is typically you would only see hobgoblins within the Hollow Wilds. So it's very unusual for them to be this far from the wilds. Now, while you're fighting your way through this, give me an Arcana check.
Yeah. 14.
Up above, there is an inky black disc spreading in between the ravens. It is expanding slowly.
Okay, I'd like to change what I'm doing in that case.
Okay, what do you do?
How... And I know this didn't matter earlier because we weren't in initiative. How long does it take to get up the tower? Because I was just on there, so I kind of know.
I think you could get up there in probably about 30 seconds.
That's a
Running
lot
full
of
speed.
turns. Okay.
For the sake of this, we're not running this in turn-by-turn format.
Okay, fair enough. I guess he would... Hold on, what's the distance on this? Can I fire at one of the crows with my short bow?
Of course.
I would like to do that.
Okay.
Alright, so that's gonna be a 19 to hit.
Alright, give me a damage roll.
2! How many hit points does a crow or does a raven have?
2.
Oh, what do you know?
Alright, you see one of these ravens fall from the formation, and this disc becomes slightly unstable. It's not completely dispelled, but you think that if you continue with this course of action, you can prevent what is most definitely a portal from opening.
Right. Well, that is unfortunately his entire turn, so he will just buckle down and get ready to shoot more ravens next time.
Okay. Ozwyn, what are you doing?
What is currently going on around me?
You are surrounded by a small group of Veilguard who are in battle with hobgoblins that have broken through the walls and have surged into Fort Dwin. You are relatively close to Kresh, as he would not let you get very far away. And Gathmir is also relatively nearby, trying to figure out what to do about this slaughter demon.
So how far away is the big demon?
From you, the demon is about 80 feet.
80 feet.
But you can move forward. As I said, you guys are not in turn by turn necessarily. I'm just asking you in order what you would like to do.
Okay, well, I want to see if I can cast sleep on it.
Okay. Go ahead and roll.
Okay, so you need to roll. So it's each creature of your choice in a 5-foot radius sphere. I don't know if there's any other hobgoblins around it. I'm focusing the sleep on the demon. But it must succeed in a wisdom saving throw of 13.
That is a 10.
Okay, so at the moment, it has the incapacitated condition until the end of its next turn, at which point it must repeat the save. If the target fails a second time, it is unconscious for the duration of the spell, which would be a minute, but that could still at least maybe buy some time. So I'm currently concentrating on sleep. It's incapacitated.
Okay. You hear a sound of astonishment come from Gathmir's voice. I am incredibly impressed. That was quick thinking. We have to evacuate. There is no sense in us staying here. The fort is already compromised enough, and with this thing in our midst, I don't think we'll last much longer.
Well, it's incapacitated right now, so go.
Gather as many as you can. I will begin channeling. I will try to get us out of here.
I can't quite gather anybody right now. I am currently concentrating on this guy.
See, Kresh turns toward you. I have to leave you for a moment. Please don't do anything stupid.
That goes the same for you.
Puts a hand on your shoulder, nods, and then runs off, shouting toward the various groups of Veilguard to retreat toward Gathmir. Now, Kerrigan. You can see Gathmir is weaving sigils in the air with his staff, getting ready to cast some great working of magic, while Kresh is running around with a glowing longsword, shouting for everyone to retreat. You can also see that the restrained slaughter demon is also asleep in this moment, so this is probably your only chance at relocating towards safety. What would you like to do?
How close am I to the Gathmir who's doing the magic right now?
Say you're probably around 45 feet.
Okay. And did I see the raven get killed?
Yes. I think the moment that this portal began opening, you would have looked up. And so you would have also seen that raven go down.
Okay, so first thing, I'm going to try to take out another one of those ravens. And I'm assuming I do not have advantage against the ravens right now.
You do not.
Okay. Well, an 8 is probably not going to hit, but...
Unfortunately, no.
Did not think so. Then I'm going to use my bonus action to dash over to Gathmir.
Okay. Theo, what are you doing?
Theo definitely saw the demon get hit with something, and then all of a sudden it's fallen asleep, so he's a little more at ease knowing that this thing won't be chasing him anytime soon, hopefully. I think Theo also would look up at the ravens, having noticed this portal start to form, seeing an arrow come out, a second one miss. I think he's going to, while making his way probably back towards other Veilguards or whatever Gathmir is trying to do, he's going to take a shot at one of the ravens as well.
Okay.
For a 17.
That will hit.
Okay. For 9 damage.
All right. As a second raven falls from the sky, the ritual that you guys were looking up at is dispelled, and you have prevented reinforcements from coming in through the sky. All of the other ravens disperse, flying off in different directions, and this disk of blackness is dispelled completely. It fades very rapidly. You see that your actions as a group have somewhat reinvigorated the Veilguard around you. They have slowly but surely begun to back away from the hobgoblin forces toward Gathmir. But they are holding their own very, very adequately. There's not a whole lot of fear in their eyes as you look around. They're growing more and more confident as they see that there are members among them that are competent. Brick, what would you like to do?
Well, the bird thing is handled, so that's awesome. And I assume I hear Crash yelling for everybody to fall back.
Yes.
Okay. Can I ask, is it just like the Veil Guard, or like I'm looking for the kid. Is my child around? Can I steal them?
You would definitely see Coco in the crowd with an arrow in his hand, holding it as if it were a sword.
And is this the crowd that's centered around Gathmir?
Correct.
Perfect. That's exactly where I want that child to be. I will spend my turn providing backup to the Veilguard as I get closer to Gathmir, as I was instructed to do. So just kind of assisting where I can.
Okay. So as all of you make your way toward Gathmir, I believe it's time for the slaughtered demon to make that save.
Mm-hmm.
Oz, what is your DC?
Oh, this is again the DC 13. This is to see if he falls completely asleep.
That is a nat 20.
Oh, no. So he is... No, I don't think... So, let's see. The spell ends if the target takes damage or someone within 5 feet takes an action to shake it awake. Hold on. Which point it must repeat the save. If it fails the second time, the target has the incapacitated condition for the duration. It doesn't say anything about it not still... Or has the unconscious condition. I don't know if it says anything about it breaking free or if it's still incapacitated for the duration.
I think it's still incapacitated, it's just not unconscious.
It's just not unconscious. Okay.
Well, but it said it was incapacitated till the end of its turn.
Oh, until the end of its
Yeah.
next turn, right. So it's no longer incapacitated, and it did not fall unconscious. So it is free.
It is still restrained, though.
Yes.
It was wasted, so we
Indeed.
got that going for us.
Mm-hmm.
So with that happening and the spell fading, Ozwyn is going to back up towards Gathmir and call out to Kresh. Get back here! Kresh!
You see Kresh is struggling to cut through a group of hobgoblins that have surrounded him. They have formed a shield wall around him. It's a very dense group. He's very experienced, so he's not shaking in his boots in this scenario, but he's outnumbered, and the odds are not in his favor.
Guessing that's my turn, right?
Yes, we will jump back up to Kerrigan. It seems to you as though Gathmir is almost finished, but you also know that this slaughter demon is dangerously close to doing something. Now that it is awake, it can probably cover this distance very easily.
How far is the demon from where we are? Like less than 80 feet?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to steady aim with my crossbow to give myself advantage on the demon.
Still entangled, right?
Yes.
So then you already have advantage because he's restrained.
Okay. So that's a nat 20, which does critical damage, and I'm doing sneak attack.
Nice.
So that's 12 automatically plus an additional 2d6. And then 16 automatically. So that's another 16 plus 16. Oh, geez, I need a calculator for all this.
We're gonna do a lot of damage.
16 plus 16 plus
44.
12. And then there's an additional 2. Yeah, so 44 damage total, I believe. Because the sneak attack doesn't also do double, does it?
What are you hitting it with?
A crossbow. So it's... Wait, hold on. I did that math wrong. Okay, hold on. 1d8. So 8 plus 16 plus 12. So that's 36. But does sneak attack do double with a critical?
Yes.
Okay. So then it's an additional 6. So that's 42 damage with crossbow.
How are we doing criticals again?
God only knows.
So it's automatic full damage for the first dice. So if it's like a 1d8, that's an automatic 8, plus then you roll the additional 1d8.
Okay.
So if I did my math right, there was 8 damage from the critical,
Yeah.
plus 16 from the actual damage that I rolled for the crossbow, plus 12 from sneak attack for the critical.
How'd you get 16 from the damage of the crossbow?
I think it rolled crit automatically.
Oh,
on that.
automatic roll crit. Then never mind. So the second one should be a 5. So 5 plus 4 is 9. 8 plus 9 plus 12 plus 6. So 35 damage. Still a decent amount.
Okay, so you see that the slaughter demon has multiple mouths on its arms as well as extra sets of eyes, and you manage to hit one of those eyes dead center in the pupil, and you see the slaughter demon recoil in pain, screaming. It is fully enraged at this point. There's blood bursting from its arm, but it is still relatively in good standing. And now it has shifted its focus toward you.
Right, and I
As
can't
well as-
move because of steady aim, but I do still...
Again, you didn't have to take steady aim, it was entangled.
Oh yeah, true. So then, since it is already entangled, I'm going to use my bonus action to attempt to hide behind, somewhere near Gathmir.
Okay.
Oh, well, that's a nat 1 on my stealth, so no hiding for me.
Yeah, the bright glowing lights coming from Gathmir are kind of a dead giveaway, unfortunately. But that is going to bring us to Theo.
I think Theo would recognize that this demon that was a pretty good hit on it, but it's going to take way more than that to take it down. So he's going to focus on taking out the hobgoblins around the group that's surrounded Gathmir. So he's going to just fight them off while making his way into the group.
Okay.
He's gonna stick with his longbow. He can shoot within melee with that, so no biggie. 25 to hit some hobgoblin.
Yep, okay. You loose a few arrows and you whittle down the kind of outer barrier of hobgoblins. Just to set the scene, there's essentially a central group around Gathmir as he's casting, and you are surrounded by hobgoblins on all sides. The Veil Guard is protecting you from the bulk of these hobgoblins. And then through the sea of hobgoblins, there is another small clearing where Kresh is currently fighting for his life, surrounded by hobgoblins as well.
In that case, could I have actually aimed to whittle down the ones around him since he seems by himself?
Sure.
Okay. And then in addition, because I was just reading how some of my spells work, upon hitting a hobgoblin, I'm going to also add a hail of thorns to it to hurt the people around him.
Okay.
And this probably won't come into play, but because I hit that demon with my crossbow, it is currently slowed, and its speed is reduced by 10.
Okay. All right, Brick.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no. It's just, with this not being like, kind of free-flowing combat, I don't know if you wanted to make dex saves for Hail of Thorns or not.
No, we're assuming that these are just minions and they are effectively fodder.
Okay, then yeah, adding some extra damage onto that.
You do see that there is a path for Kresh to kind of make his way through now that you've whittled down some of these forces. Rick.
Yes.
What would you like to do? You can see that the spell is just about complete. This demon It's looking like it's going to do something very rude very soon, but you can't quite tell what its instincts might lead it to do. You know that it's probably not going to move closer to you because it's being slowed and restrained, but you can see that it has almost a chain-like tail that seems to be unwinding, growing longer and longer in waiting.
Gosh, I don't... So it's a tail, but it is chain-like.
Correct.
So it is flesh and blood attached to the thing.
It appears so.
Alright. I don't know. No, he's got a tail. Could Brick attempt, and tell me if this doesn't work, to basically shoot at the tail, like right at where it like starts becoming a tail, and like try to basically stun it? Like, ow, it's broken for a second. You just severed the nerves attached to my tail. Now the muscle is not working.
Sure.
Cool. He's gonna rage do that and get advantage on his attack. So I will mark that rage off.
And what does that look like when you rage?
It's odd, because usually it's like, oh, rah, screaming, you hear that. He just kind of stands there for a second, and when he opens his eyes, they're still pupilless, but they're like a really sickly green color all of a sudden, and you're just like, that's not correct, something's wrong there. And just kind of emanates for a second, and then everything kind of goes back to normal, and he's just ready to go. Let's give it a try.
If I remember you saying you're a wild magic barbarian?
Yeah,
Fun.
that is a 22 to hit.
What did you get on your wild surge table?
Oh, I figured I'd roll it after, but hold on, let me pull up the wild search table. I got, hold on, scrolling. If a creature hits me with an attack roll before my rage ends, it takes 1d6 force damage because magic is angry.
Okay. And you were hitting it with what? With the 22? That does hit.
It is my short bow that I'm just trying to hit with an arrow to like sever some muscles in there.
All right. Give me a damage roll and see if you beat the threshold.
Sure. Do I get additional damage because my rage bonus? That's a thing still, right? I haven't played Barbarian since the update.
Yes, anything that uses strength, you get an extra 2.
Okay, so that's gonna be 6 plus 1 is 7 plus additional 2 is 9.
Okay. So you send an arrow flying at the links of this chain tail, and you manage to sever it. And you know that this would have definitely been problematic if the demon had used it, especially since the most obvious target would have been Gathmir, since he is literally lighting up the night with this spell. Now, as you do that, you have interrupted the demon's initial action that he was going to use. Ozwyn.
Yes.
The spell is quite literally finalizing as Kresh is some 10 feet away from this inner group. He is not going to make it.
He's not going to make it.
So I will give you this opportunity. What do you say in these last seconds before you are teleported away?
You better get out of this. Go back. Go back home. Tell him I was saved from this. Go. You need to get out of this. Run. And I wanted to see if I can... No, that's what I did. That's my action. I'm yelling at him. Use that sword. Fight. Crush.
You shout out this emotional blurb, and it stuns Kresh for a moment. And as he struggles to think of what to say, you see him get pushed back by hobgoblins. He doesn't look like he's lost all hope. He looks more so disappointed that he couldn't do more. And there is a look on his face that kind of screams failure. But he disappears in the crowd as the hobgoblins push him down, and you just faintly see the glow of the sword increase.
No!
As all of you are teleported. There's blinding light, and then you are again in total darkness with the survivors of Fort Dwin in the wilderness. The fort is somewhere in the distance, likely still standing, but you're much too far away to know in this moment. Gathmir drops to a knee. Kerrigan, you see that there is an arrow embedded into his right shoulder. Nothing fatal.
I'm going to attempt to very quickly get the arrow out and patch him up a bit.
Okay. You do as you've done many times before. Theo, you recognize some of these trails around you. You've used them for hunting. You know that you can probably lead this small group toward a nearby safe haven or stronghold. Perhaps a fort that Fort Dwin had been trading with. But you know that it is of utmost priority to get moving, as you have no idea how close behind the hobgoblins are and that slaughter demon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Theo shakes the disorientation of teleportation out of his head as he starts moving to what Veil Guard managed to escape with us, getting them on their feet, giving them orders to get everybody collected so we can start making our way.
I'm just standing there, just looking at where Kresh was just a moment ago, and now it's just woodland and forest and so far away. Kresh. No. He could have made it.
He may still make it. I would not count him out just yet.
To fall to my knees. That sword? So important sword. Why didn't it do anything?
As you say that, there is a wave of air that pushes through the trees. And as a group, you turn to the skies and you see a beacon of golden light shooting high into the sky, splitting the clouds. Some great working of magic has been done. A fragment of dead, forgotten gods reignited. You're not sure if this is a sign of the changing of times or if it is a sign of the end. As you know, almost undoubtedly, demons will converge on that location and they will destroy everything that is in their path. Brick.
Yes.
A shaking hand touches your side. You see Coco. Brick. Where's my dad?
Okay, quick thing. How many people made it out?
About 40 of the 200.
It does not take long to scan 40 people. Is their dad there?
No.
Alright, good to know. So Brick will kind of look down at this child that I think he's just inherited and just kind of go, I don't think he came with the teleport, but that doesn't necessarily mean terrible things. I'm not great with magic, but usually when giant beams of golden light burst into the sky, it means something good happened. So maybe we'll meet him at the next fort. But until then, I got your back.
Give me a persuasion check.
Great. 16.
There is a mixture of disbelief and sadness on Coco's face. But he nods slowly, wiping a tear from one eye, and he grabs your hand.
Alright, and I will start assisting in getting people, been ready to move away from this location, and I will just keep hold of Coco the whole time.
Ozwyn just sits on the ground, having just fallen to her knees, and she just continues just to look at the distant fort, just silently, just hoping that he's able to get out.
In this moment, where the clouds have parted for the first time in many years, you can see the night sky up above, unobscured. You look to the constellations above, and part of you knows that if the gods are still out there, then Salir surely will protect Kresh.
Looking at this, I sort of just bow my head for a moment. I just have that silent prayer to those stars before they're obscured again. Having not seen stars in years, a sign it has to be. He'll get home. He'll tell my family, and I'll see him again at some point. I have to.
As your small group begins to move into the night, you dare not light torches out of fear of what lurks in the distance within the mist. You follow your guide, Theo, who knows these woods like the back of his hand, and you pray that no more surprises will find you. And that is where we're going to end our session.